The worst piece of advice that I often hear regarding eating disorders, especially in young children or teens, is that the person will simply grow out of it. No need to intervene. That person will resume normal eating patterns as they quote unquote grow up. This is not only inaccurate, it is potentially dangerous or deadly. My name is Sheena, and I'm a registered dietitian specializing in the care of persons with eating disorders. And if that's something that you're interested in, definitely click that subscribe button. I do drop new episodes every Wednesday. Alert button so you don't miss any new content. So here's the things that are probably actually happening instead of the person recovering as they age. The first thing is that they initially took on those eating disorder behaviors, such as restriction in calories, excessive exercise, or purging, such as vomiting or laxative abuse, or compensating with food eaten through exercise. They may have experienced a dramatic drop in weight. Parents or caregivers might have initially been concerned as their body was rapidly changing, but they may not see those weight shifts as rapidly as time goes on. And the reason why is the body does all sorts of compensatory behaviors in order to prevent that person from essentially starving to death. So it's going to do things like slow down the metabolism, decrease hunger cues, the hormones that are involved in digestion, and even go so far as shift the thyroid in order to preserve the body weight that is on the body. And so over time, that weight loss might be less dramatic, and people might believe that the person has disengaged their disordered eating behaviors, when in reality, their body is just getting better at masking these. While it might appear that clinically the person is less emaciated and even vitals might return to normal, or they might regain some of that weight loss, that's actually not what's happening. The body is just becoming more efficient at essentially starving, and it's breaking down its systems and processes in order to compensate for that starvation. Typically, the eating disorder behaviors are still alive and well and may have even been exacerbated because the person is noticing that the effort that they put into their eating disorder behaviors in the beginning are no longer working. So they are restricting further and potentially even adding in more compensatory behaviors in order to facilitate the body that they're wanting. That's another thing that might change. It might get better at hiding their behaviors. In fact, I can almost guarantee that this is what's happening. And this is true whether people begin to comment on their behaviors or not. They don't want to be in situations where people are socially commenting on that eating disorder because that exposes the eating disorder. The goal of the eating disorder is to hide and survive. So if other people know that you're using compensatory behaviors or eating disorder behaviors, they're going to comment, and the eating disorder is going to say, well, that person might try to intervene here, might try to make you gain weight, eat more food, other things. And so they're just getting more secretive about these behaviors. They're not actually stopping the behaviors. And a person with the eating disorder is going to really start this intake on how people are responding to the behaviors that they're doing very, very early on. So they might do something like start hiding when they are self-induced vomiting, or start hiding their laxative because they know that this is not socially appropriate. They might start to avoid social situations and tell others that they might prefer to stay home and watch TV rather than go to a party. And so individuals might just begin overlooking some of these major symptoms of the eating disorder. This is not healing. This is typically actually usually exacerbation of the eating disorder. Another thing that might happen as individuals get older, they may have other social obligations, job, work, family, that might take the precedence for a while of some of those eating disorder behaviors. So, for example, if they're slaving away at a job and their main focus becomes the job for a brief segment of time, they may shift over some of the eating disorder behaviors to compensate for the energy that they're putting into the job. This does not mean that eating disorder is going away. It is not. The guilt and shame is still rising, and that eating disorder is just laying dormant in order to come back with a vengeance. The body loathing is often at an all-time high once that person starts to relax, take a breath from these other obligations, such as, having a child or work or something like that, until they can full-fledged invest back into their eating disorder. And so, like I said, that eating disorder is coming back with a vengeance. So almost never does that eating disorder go away with age. It actually gets deeper and the person gets better at hiding it. And the body might get better at responding to those symptoms of starvation. So onlookers might not feel that that person is experiencing such drastic eating disorder behaviors as well. Their body is not in the stereotypical emaciated state. So we just want to get rid of this. You grow out of an eating disorder altogether. You do not. I've seen it exacerbated with individuals in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and then life changes are happening on top of that for an eating disorder that they never dealt with, such as menopause, etc. So regardless of what age you are, you need to get that support as quickly as you possibly can, as intensely as necessary for the appropriate level with wherever you are in your eating disorder and those eating disorder behaviors. I hope that this information was helpful for you. If so, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing with a friend.